Hey there, this is Crystal Summer Bear Jones with Summer Bear Weddings, and the YouTube channel is Wedding Secrets and Heirloom Photography. I'm a little bit distracted. I decided to bring my dog in because I am recording this from home. Why am I recording from home? That is because my studio actually is in downtown Martinez, and it is quite loud there, and the only time to record is in the middle of the night. And unfortunately, with my husband away on business, I cannot leave this little one alone for too terribly long. So I actually decided that I was going to take this opportunity to chat about pets and weddings. This little one, her name is Aurora, and she's 15 years old. And it's really annoying because she's black, so the digital background wants to get rid of her. Um, but yeah, so she's 15 years old and she has quite a bit of health issues, but it's not so bad where it's time to like put her down or anything like that. But she really can't be left alone for too terribly long. And we had a summer wedding and we were a little concerned about being hot. So I have a few brides I have booked this year that are going to definitely be incorporating their little fur babies into their wedding, which is very popular. But I wanted to share some things to think about before deciding to include your dog in your wedding and some ways to partially include your dog in your wedding, but not fully include your dog. So I love her. She's blind, by the way. So I'm going to share, well, our story first, and then I'm going to share some past client stories. So She she came with us last April for the engagement photos that my sister took. We needed to do save the dates r really quick because if you're new to this channel, you'll know that I got engaged very, very quickly. So I got engaged in March and our wedding was in August. And so we our session with our photographer was not going to be until we were going down to Central Coast, California in the Santa Barbara area to look at some venues. And so I need to send out digital save the dates ASAP, right? So I had my sister take some photos because my sister does photography on the side. And so we brought Aurora. And so we have a few engagement photos with Aurora. And I really was thinking that it would be so much fun to have her be a part of the wedding. Now, obviously, one of the things that I would have wanted to do and was invite my dog sitter. My dog sitter and I are good friends. I did want her to be there on my wedding day. And I thought that'd be perfect because then she could, take care of Aurora a little bit too. However, she has a lot of dogs. She also rescues dogs. So I knew that the only way for her to get away is if she had someone to watch the other dogs, and unfortunately, that was not going to be possible. Combine that with the fact that we decided to get married in August and on the Central Coast, a little about 30 minutes in from the ocean. So it was going to be quite toasty that day. So yes, I could have included Aurora in our wedding. However, she would have been very uncomfortable. She might have overheated. And someone would have had to be responsible for her, and I would have been worried about her. And so for us, it just wasn't a good idea to incorporate her in our actual wedding as much as I wish we had and sometimes I wish we hadn't incorporated her in the wedding because maybe I would have noticed something was wrong with her. When we got back from our honeymoon, uh I noticed immediately that her right this side on this side looked really gooey and gross. And I had been asking my dog sitter, is Aurora okay? Is Aurora okay? And she kept saying, yes, it's fine, it's fine. So I keep hitting my microphone. And she's like, oh, she's fine, she's fine. Well, she wasn't fine. It's just that it was a slow progression and it wasn't really super noticeable to my dog sitter how bad she was getting. So by the time I went to go pick her up, she basically had gone blind. Because we were gone for 2.5 weeks, a few days for the wedding and then 2 weeks for the honeymoon. So that was very hard. I called the vet right away. We literally took her in the next day to get her checked out and everything. And oh, hi babies. And we had got a specialist. who is in Pleasanton. And yeah, she had two ulcers that developed very quickly. I think that the ulcers were developing earlier, but I was busy planning the wedding and I didn't really notice the signs and I had just taken her to the vet. So, I thought everything was fine. But yeah, so she went blind and then she got a UTI because she wasn't drinking water. And we had realized too that her kidney levels were starting to get elevated a little bit. So basically, as soon as we got home from our honeymoon, we had to go straight to uh, caring for a sick dog, and it was quite expensive as well. So that's our story. Oh, that's so funny because she's white and black, not the right color to have a digital background. Um, but so she would have just she, she probably would have had a little bit of fun, but obviously at by the time our wedding happened, she was already starting not to feel well. We just didn't know it yet. So, your feet are literally on there. Okay, you're gonna go down now. I plopped her right on her bed behind me. Um, real life. And that's, if you do meet me in person, I'm actually going to be at the Wedding Expo in Sacramento, Sunday, April 27th, 2025. And I will be actively doing wedding fairs throughout the rest of the year. So you may very well, if you find me in 2025 on YouTube, then you will probably see me at some wedding fairs around the Bay Area. I've even thought about going down to the Central Coast, and to the South Bay. My beings are being all funky doodle. Anyway, so if you find me at that time, if you want to actually meet me in person, um, absolutely reach out and I'll let you know what fairs I'm going to be going to. But I will be doing the Wedding Expo on this coming Sunday. I'm recording this a little bit late. Last week, my husband left on business, and so I didn't get a chance to record anything. But yeah, and then after that, I might be doing Mother's Day, and then I'm doing one in June, and then August, I have weddings in August, so I don't know. I probably won't do one in August. And then I think my next one I'm probably going to do is going to be October, November, even though I'm really busy in those months too. So we'll see what I actually have time for and energy for. Um, but it is really great getting to see people and I actually see the same couple sometimes at multiple fairs. And so it's really fun. Anyway, getting back to the subject at hand. So I wanted to share some stories from my clients about how to incorporate pets in your wedding photos in a way that is might be a little bit easier for you. Because one thing about pets, and if you're a dog owner, you know this, and cat owner, is that they're unpredictable. If they're barkers, obviously you're not going to want that in the middle of the ceremony necessarily unless it is like an animal loving ceremony and there's animal loving people. That's another thing to consider as your guests. If you're going to keep the dog around, will your guests be allergic? Also, many venues won't allow dogs. My venue actually did allow pets, and because it was an enclosed area, so we actually could have brought her and had her be there the whole time, except for in the house. We couldn't bring her in the house. But we like in our case, it was just too hot and it just wasn't right. However, what I've had before is couples hire a dog sitter and have the dog sitter bring the dog to the venue during the first look or the couple's portraits, and we incorporate the dog into the photography at that time. That is the best of both worlds. So if you don't want to actually have your dog go down the aisle, which is really cute as well, then you can just bring them in for the photos so you can do a photo op with the dog and then they go back home. The other option is to have somebody walk the dog down the aisle or, on a lead or carry them or in a little stroller type thing, push them or, from behind or pull from behind. Those are all great ways to incorporate the dog. And then you just have to designate someone to take the dog once they get to the aisle and be okay with actually walking the dog like away from the ceremony. Because again, if it's going to be outside, which most of the time when you're incorporating dogs in ceremonies, it is going to be outdoors, they're going to see a squirrel or a bird or something that's going to make them bark, unless you have a very well trained dog. So I would recommend then having the dog go off with somebody that maybe isn't a guest. Maybe it's the wedding coordinator, although they're probably busy, or you hire somebody to take care of the dog, and then they take the dog away to go to the bathroom, whatever, and then you can bring the dog back for some portraits. Um, and those are just some great examples of how to incorporate dogs in weddings. If you have other ideas, I would love for you to drop them in the comments below because I would love to hear some new ideas. People are having less kids, unfortunately, but they are having a lot of pets, a lot of fur babies. And so, um, having the dog as being a part of the wedding is such a fun way to incorporate the different aspect of your growing family, right? Um, and by the way, before I forget, the photo here you'll see is different than the one previously. This is the one, my setup from San Francisco. I exchanged it out because it was beautiful venue. It called in Hesperia, I believe. It's First Jones Street in San Francisco. The area is a little dicey. Lot of homeless people, but the inside of this building, this was amazing, and this hall is just incredible. And my setup ended up looking quite lovely, so I wanted to use this setup for the background. I will hopefully be getting an actual studio where I can do this in a quiet location. And like the first two I did, you'll notice there was a lot of background noise, and that's because even though I was recording the video at 9 o'clock at night, there was loud motorcycles driving by, there were people. It was just really loud, and I really don't feel comfortable going to downtown at my studio at midnight. And even then, even at midnight, you have loud motorcycles going through downtown, and it happens more often than not. So, because they can get away with it. So that is why I have a digital background right now. Because I also, if I see you, I want you to know what to look for because this is exactly not exactly, but roughly this is my setup for wedding fairs. So if you uh, decide to go to a wedding fair, then look for this. Reach out to me first, and I'll let you know which ones I'm going to, and then you can find me and you'll know what you're looking for. And it's a very different setup than what most photographers do at wedding fairs. It's unique. So, the Wedding Expo in Sacramento is huge. There's going to be 3,800 people. There's 3,800 people registered. Probably maybe will be about 2,000 people who actually show up because you know how that goes. So, about 1,000 couples is what I'm estimating. That's a lot of couples. I am sure I'll only talk to, maybe 20 if I'm lucky, maybe 30. But it's a lot of fun getting to know you guys, and so many of you guys are getting married with your pets. So, and yeah, it's gonna be the way this channel is developing. As I have the space to grow, I'm gonna use my actual professional camera. I'm using a pretty nice camera, but it's still making my face grainy, which is odd because when I'm on Zoom, it's not. But I like using my phone because it's nice and clear. However, Zoom is a great way to record these when I need to do these at home. But I have something special planned. In 2 videos from now, I will be releasing. So next week, yeah, I'm doing one more video where I'm going to be chatting on a separate topic about multi-day weddings and how to handle that. And then the next one after that is going to be a special interview with a real estate agent of mine who's going to be chatting about how to uh, have your guests help you with the down payment for your house and how it's actually like legal. Because if you're trying to buy a house after you get married, then you have to account for where all the money comes from for the down payment. So there's this really cool program and a web app that people can donate to that actually legalizes legalizes it and makes it allowable for a down payment. And it's really cool. So I'm going to be doing that interview soon. And I have one more interview that hopefully is lined up. They haven't confirmed with me yet, but it's a really unique thing, and I don't want to share it yet because they might not be able to do it. So they had to check in with the powers that be to see if they could hop in for this quick interview. So if you have any questions about dogs or anything like that, please reach out to me. But as a quick review, I want to just review again the 3 options you have for incorporating your dog in your wedding. One, you have somebody come and bring the dog in for photos and then leave. Two, you have somebody walk the dog down the aisle and then take the dog away, and that's it. Okay. Usually we'll do a first look, do the photos, and then you'll do the dog walking down the aisle. The third option, I actually don't think I mentioned before, but it is actually for those dogs that are well trained and that you really want to be a part of the wedding, and that is to have the dog there the whole day or a good chunk of the day. However, this is only if you have a dog handler there and if your dog is really trained and if the venue allows it. The one thing to keep in mind when dealing with this, though, is that people have allergies. So if you do decide to bring your dog and have them be a part of the wedding, just make sure that everybody knows ahead of time that that's going to be the case and ensure that you have somebody making sure the dog doesn't get too close to the guests and the food and things like that. And the dog will be done pretty quickly. They'll want to go nap somewhere, just like kids. So I would only recommend having the dog for part of the ceremony and maybe part of the reception, then having them taken home or to a separate location where they can nap, eat, drink, relieve themselves. These are all important things to think about, but it's really up to you. The most popular thing is to just have the dog sitter is to either have the dog sitter come and bring them in for photographs or to have somebody walk them down the aisle and then somebody else responsible for taking the dog away out of the ceremony location and then back for photos and then they leave and they're away. They're gone for the rest of the wedding. So that is the most popular option. So I do go off on tangents and I apologize. I will get better as I do this more often. I did actually have a podcast 4 years ago and I got about 10 in and then COVID happened and I was doing food delivery to make ends meet actually during COVID because all my weddings got canceled and some had to be refunded and generally I don't do that, but extenuating circumstances. So it's been a while since I've been in the camera in this capacity, so I appreciate your your graciousness and your patience with me as I work through getting rid of the ums and my setup will improve over time, but I'm doing what I can for now. And the most important thing is I want you to have the information in your pocket so you know, you don't have to Google everything. Well, you'll Google and find this, but it'll be from somebody who's been there, who is a wedding professional and knows what they're talking about. All right. Well, have a wonderful evening and or morning, whatever time this is for you. And I will be back soon for your next episode. Bye-bye now.